Ni hao, and a very warm welcome to News Hour on CCTV International. I'm Edwin Ma in Beijing. The 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, plus Japan and South Korea, have been discussing a draft resolution in response to the DPRK's second nuclear test. A partial draft already obtained by the Associated Press reveals that the Security Council will condemn in the strongest terms the DPRK's latest underground nuclear test. It says the test was in flagrant violation and disregard of UN Security Council Resolution 1718. It will also demand the DPRK halt any further nuclear tests or launches. Countries will be called on to immediately enforce existing sanctions. The draft will be submitted to the Security Council for a final decision as early as next week. In October 2006, the DPRK conducted its first nuclear test. The UN Security Council later adopted Resolution 1718 to impose sanctions on the DPRK, as well as to establish an arms embargo on the country. Meanwhile, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea is warning that it will take further defence measures if the UN Security Council imposes sanctions over its recent nuclear test. In a statement carried by state media, the DPRK's Foreign Ministry said Monday's underground test was to counter the Security Council's moves against the DPRK's launch of a rocket in April. Pyongyang has demanded that the Security Council withdraw all resolutions against it. The statement said if the Council disregards the demand, the DPRK will no longer accept any UN resolutions. Also on Friday, South Korea's Yonhap news agency reported that the DPRK had test-fired another short-range missile off its east coast. That launch is the 6th short-range missile the country has test-fired since its nuclear test on Monday. And the DPRK's official KCNA news agency reports that top leader Kim Jong-il is calling on the people of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea to devote themselves to building a great, powerful and prosperous country. Kim inspected a fertilizer plant a few days ago in Hamgyong province. During the inspection, he said the whole country was launching a socialist construction campaign. He also said the date to, in his words, open the gate of a great and powerful and prosperous nation was getting close. Well, responding to concerns over a possible relisting of the DPRK as a state sponsor of terrorism, the US State Department says the decision will depend on Pyongyang's subsequent actions. The State Department says before making any decision, the Obama administration must determine whether the DPRK government has repeatedly provided support for acts of international terrorism. Under the six-party talks framework, and along with Pyongyang's acceptance of all US nuclear inspection demands, the Bush administration removed the DPRK from the terrorism blacklist back in October of 2008. This year's Asia Security Summit is now underway in Singapore. Representatives from 27 countries and regions, including China, are taking part. The Korean Peninsula situation is the focus of the conference, as Zhang Sui reports.
The Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd delivered a keynote speech at the opening ceremony. He said the focus of global strategies and economies is shifting towards the Asia-Pacific region. As a result, he said countries in the zone should work together to take on greater regional and global responsibilities. He also called on the international community to issue tough measures against the DPRK's nuclear test as soon as possible.
The international community must respond with one voice and with a common program of action against Pyongyang.
U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is also scheduled to speak at the conference. He's expected to meet with his counterparts from Japan and South Korea to discuss the DPRK's nuclear test. That will be their first trilateral talks. The annual Asia Security Summit is organized by the London-based International Institute for Strategic Studies. Regional military leaders and security experts will spend the next 3 days in Singapore discussing security issues as well as defense cooperation. 曾穗 CCTV